Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another movie spoiler review. And today we'll be talking about one of the best and probably I want to say the second. It's hard to rank all my, favorite Batman films, but it's definitely easily in the top four. Uh, Best Batman films of all time. The very first, Tim Burton's Batman, 89. I was born in 88. So I was 1 years old when this movie came out. But man, this movie, I am excited for the Flashpoint uh, live film, bringing back Michael Keaton's Batman with Ezra Miller's Flash and everything like that. It's gonna be amazing, and it's definitely gonna do gangbusters for the DC universe for the film franchise. But man, well, Christopher Reeve's Superman, I think definitely kicked this off. But I think Michael Keaton's Batman solidified it, and oh my god, it would have been can you imagine if DC had the balls to bring Michael Keaton, uh, Christopher Reeve and I'm blanking on her doggone name. The '70s Wonder Woman. Dang it. Uh, Hold on. It's on the tip of my tongue. Dang it. What was that? Her name. Linda Carter. Thank you, God. Thank you, Google. Linda Carter. Now, of course, uh, Christopher Reeve had his accident at some point, but probably at least maybe a couple of years after the Quest for Peace came out. But I mean, they could have done something. There's a little bit a year or two where it would have been possible to see these two. These three powerhouses that we know and revere to this day as the epitome of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Until other people came along to take up the mantles. Well, it took long for Wonder Woman. There's only been two mantles, it's Gal Gadot and Linda Carter, but it's been a handful of people who play Superman and Batman throughout the years. Uh, but man, just oh my god, it would have been amazing just to see these three together. For the longest time, they were it. Uh, but uh, uh, Michael Keaton, man, he of course, apparently at the time before the movie came out, people were poo-pooing on the idea, even for back then, because you think people today, because we just had the benefit of smartphones. You think people today complain about certain people being cast in certain roles and giving actors or directors or studios crap about it. They even did it back then, back in the mid to late '80s, apparently, because of course, Michael Keaton played Mr. Mom right before he got cast in the role of as Batman, and people complain oh, I don't want Mr. Mom being my Batman, blah 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 blah. And just like with Heath Ledger, as soon as he came out, he nailed it, to the wall. He nailed it, and he was my Batman for the longest time. He's right tied there with Kevin Conroy's voice for Batman. It was neck and neck. Those two growing up were my Batman. They usually what I hear or see when I think of Batman. And I think that's true for a lot of people. and the musical score in this is phenomenal. Uh, it was like a Prince and who else did the score? I'm blanking on their name. Dang it. The score in this. Uh, Danny Elfman. Got Danny Elfman who did the musical cue. As soon as like you hear that sound as like the opening comes about, it was like it really set the mood for you as far as like how what you're in for. And like, I mean, I love the Nolan version depiction of Gotham City. Even to a certain extent, I like Zack Snyder's depiction of Gotham City. But this Gotham City, the Tim Burton version, really made it Gotham, like a gothic city. And it's like it's just like you feel like you're in Gotham City compared to like the other directors in later years. I think Tim Burton's like is the true artiste in nailing how Gotham City is supposed to look like. And it's like it seems like it's more nighttime than daytime by comparison. It's so few daytime shots that even though they shot this in like a sound stage, you can hardly, I don't think you barely tell. And of course they have to do a sound stage in order to drive this version of the Batmobile. Still iconic to me as far as like, I mean, I like the animated series Batmobile personally slightly better, but I think this would be a good close second as far as like the best Batmobiles of all time. Because the Tumbler, while it looks cool, it's not really a mobile. It's a tank. Same thing with Ben Affleck Batman's ride. It's a tank. It's not a Batmobile. Hell, even Adam West's Batmobile is like a true Batmobile because it's like an actual car that you can actually drive. But yeah, the way it opens is really like I gotta give credit where credit's due with Tim Burton, because I think he was the first one that didn't rely on shooting like the opening of like you see for the longest period of time, seeing like Batman's parents getting gunned down like almost in every, besides Tim Burton, you see it almost in every other Batman film, and it's like we get it. It's just like with Superman, as a baby, being, falling to earth in Kansas and stuff like that, or Peter Parker being bitten by a spider and got a spider prize, and Uncle Ben getting shot. We see it so many times, and it's like I credit with the John Watts Spider-Man Homecoming stuff for the MCU. They did not even bother with it. They were smart enough to know you get it already. You've seen this like at least several times at this point. We don't need to rehash that point. And this one, you would think you were about to see the Waynes getting shot in the alley, but no, they subverted your expectations, and they just got plain on mugged. It was like with a kid, by and everything like that, and the muggers, go on top of a roof and trying to count the cash, and you just see like, because I remember when I was little, because I didn't see it in the theaters because I was a baby at the time, but when it was on TV, my father, I remember my father like putting this on for me, because he knew I was watching like Superman Because I watched the Christopher Reeve Superman movie with him, and I watched like the '90s Spider-Man TV show. So he knew I liked all the superhero stuff. So he showed me like Batman for the first time, and I was like glued. As soon as like you see Michael Keaton do that land, and his cape comes down, and it's like I'm just like glued. Like I was just like silent. I'm stuck to the TV, and I'm just all inspired. As a kid, and it's like this dude is like, who is this? And it's like, they're like, I want you to tell your friends about me. Who are you? I'm Batman. And that's the first time you hear the line, because you would think Kevin Conroy was the first one who said it, but it was Michael Keaton technically, because this movie came out before the anime series came about. The anime series came out maybe like a year or two after, I think a couple years after. No, because Batman Returns came out in '92, so I think it was like somewhere same time the anime series came out. But technically, the line that we all know that you would think Batman will always say, "I am Batman." Michael Keaton was the first one who said it. By technical standpoints and timeline standpoints, he was the first one who said it. Kevin Conroy was the second. Not the other way around. Because like when I rewatched this, it's been a long time since I've seen this film. To be honest with you, I've seen it plenty of times as a kid. Haven't really gotten back to it that often over the years, but it's just fun rewatching this. And I highly encourage you, when I watch a Batman thing, I like to watch it at night because I want to be surrounded in that atmosphere. Like I'm reading a Batman. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm reading a Batman comic or watching a Batman show or a movie, I want it to be immersed. So I want to read or watch it at night because it's just like it just like it correlates. It just like it helps me get sucked into the story. And I'm watching this, and it's like you get because you get to see these this guy Alexander Knox being played by Robert Wall, I think his name. Yeah, Robert Wall. And like I haven't seen him much in a lot of stuff. The last time I ever seen him in a long while was him reprising his role as Knox in like the TV show DC Crisis crossover on the CW a couple years back. And he's supposed to, because this, I guess in the TV crossover, they categorize Tim Burton's Batman universe as Universe 89. And it's like, wow, the crisis, running over each universe. You see the sky is dark and you see like, Batman jumping from building to building, and you see Knox, on the streets below. It's like, I hope you got this, big guy. And he's a little chunkier, over the years. But it's like you hear that, that score, as that scene is playing out. It's a brief scene. You can look it up. At least look up all like the callbacks to a lot of DC properties over the years, like Birds of Prey, Batman '89, even the Lucifer TV show is a callback. Just spoiler, but I'm not going to spoil everything. Look it up online, see it for yourself, and you will get a kick out of it. That's probably the best crossover I've seen in a long time. Probably the best parts of the CW DC shows is mostly the crossovers, but I haven't really decided to like even go back to those. Like, ever since that point, I'm just figured like I am done with that. DC CW stuff. CW has really ruined those. I won't say ruined the characters, but they ruined the shows, and it is just like piss poor at this point. But anyway, you get to see like because Bruce Wayne's like kind of recluse. He's supposed to be going through these kind of fundraisers and all the other stuff. He doesn't show up. He's doing his Batman thing, and you get this new reporter, Vicky Vale. And I gotta say, if I gotta have any cons with this film, I mean, I like her. She, does a great job as the love interest in this. She's cool and probably like second best. Like, it's like it's in terms of like pop culture famous reporters, as Lois Lane's right at the tippy top. Then you get like April O'Neil from the Ninja Turtles and Vicky Vale, as far as like iconic like female reporters. And Vicky Vale is a cool character. I really like they're doing like like a continuation of the Batman '89 universe in comic book format in like a 6-issue run that I'm currently reading. Might do eventually once it's wrapped up. I probably will do like a comic book review on that on the channel. So look forward to that because it's really good. It's like if the Batman Burton verse was to been able to continue, you get to see certain things that you never see play out in the film, like crap, about to say Lando, not Billy D. Williams, aka Lando. You get to see him progressing in the Two-Face persona in the comic books, and there was at least I want to say a rumor, but there was the thought of because Marlon Wayans was a hot deal back in the early '90s, and initially they thought they was going to get like a trilogy out of the Burton verse, and it was going to cast Marlon Wayans as like Tim Drake Robin or Dick Grayson Robin, but they all fell through when there wasn't going to get a third one. But you get to see that kind of play out in this short comic book run. But anyway, Vicky Vale was like a reporter, internationally, shooting snapshots of certain war torn areas, and doing photography for other stuff. She's coming to Gotham because she heard reports of the Batman. And she, working with Knox trying to get information on it. And they go to this party, and fundraiser hosted by Bruce Wayne at McWayne Manor. And you get Michael Goff as Alfred, probably like Michael Goff, Michael Caine, Michael, not Michael Ironside, crap. I'm about to say John Henry Irons, but that's Steel from DC Comics. God dang it. Crap. Jeremy Irons. See, that's why I got it confused with like John Henry Irons. Like Jeremy, not John Henry, because put it together, you get Jeremy. John. Jeremy Irons as Alfred, Michael Goff as Alfred, Michael Caine as Alfred. Those are great Alfreds. And then you get the animated series version. Those are fantastic Alfreds. But Michael Goff started it all. And he was like a spitting image of Alfred as we would think him to be. He's up there in years, but not too frail. Like certain depictions back in the day of Aunt May, so far as like, look like she's about to keel over in any second if you blow on her. But of course, they kind of, thanks to Miss Marissa Tomei's Aunt May, people been trying to like scale her age back a bit. First it was Sally Field, who's not that old, and then you get Marissa Tomei, who's definitely not that old. So it's like just like incredibly hot. Hot Aunt May, as I call it, MILF May, as I call it. But they're doing kind of the same thing with Alfred. They kind of like, from Michael Goff to Michael Caine, then Jeremy Irons, who's not that old either. So it's kind of like they kind of scaling back these father and mother figures uh, to suit whoever need, or at least the age gap, whoever the main hero is going to be. But I like Michael Goff's Alfred. Well, it's just all the Alfreds, had that kind of wisdom, because like, uh, but I think you get a slightly more with Michael Goff. While I love Michael Caine, he seems more so like trying to like fall into a story almost. It's a very interesting story, like the whole story with, trying to catch a bandit in Burma story, which is, you glued to the story, but it seems to drag. Not drag, but just like Michael Goff can get his point across with, or at least his wisdom across, without falling into like a trap of a story. While Jeremy Irons, I remember him, offering a bit of wisdom, and at least cracking wise about like, boy, do we wish the days that all we were worried about was exploring penguins. But I think you get there's a better wisdom from him in well, a little bit in Batman v Superman, but definitely a little bit more in the Zack Snyder version of the Justice League. But it's just Michael Goff, the way his acting chops is just superior, and it's like you get to see that and hear that wisdom. And he's like that scene where it's like Bruce asking like, "What's on your mind, Alfred?" It's it's like, I'm too old to be worried about like how you put it is like to worry about like old friends or their sons. I'm butchering it, but it's kind of like coming across like I've been around long enough to befriend two people that I care deeply about, and then I had to lay to rest, and then I'm pretty much doing this, exact same thing with their son. Then he's going out there, instead of living his life, he's going out there risking it, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to bury my friend's kid. And right after I had to bury them, which you would think in his mind would felt not that too long ago in his mind. Because like like if you read like any Batman comic book, that Alfred was long friends with, in some iterations, he's long friends with the Waynes, and the fact that even though he's supportive of Bruce's exploits as Batman and the public service he's providing, he would not bat an eye if he decided to hang it up. He, by and large, he would prefer that, because he wants them to get out of that pain, or leave that pain behind. He's trying to set him up with Vicky Vale, then later Catwoman in the sequel, just to find like a perfect match, so that if he's content, if he's settling down, he can leave the Batman behind kind of situation. I just like Michael Goff's interpretation of Alfred. Is so good. It's so good. But then you got Jack Nicholson's Joker, and you get to see, because they really like. But the only thing first and foremost, the one thing I did not like with what Tim Burton did with Joker in this is the fact that he combined him with Joe Chill in the comics, because Joe Chill is a separate individual who was the one who shot Bruce Wayne's parents, and Joker came a lot later in life, when Bruce was Batman for a couple of years already. He decided to combine them, and for the longest time, when I was a little kid, I always thought like Joker was the one who killed Batman when he was like a younger man. But it wasn't until, I don't know if it was my uncle or my cousins who brought that to my attention about like it's two separate things. But I learned later, how like it's like a two separate events, and which is kind of, well, part of me feels like that's a perfect example of how like you don't want to mess with continuity too much because you'll get certain kids confused, until they learn better later in life, which we probably shouldn't have to, but would you expect kids to like do their own research or whatever? Ah, but anyway, besides that, Jack Nicholson really nailed it as the Joker because in some interpretations, the Joker's real name is Jack Napier, and for the longest time, people will just hold that as like his actual name. But by and large, Joker is like a nameless kind of figure. But if you want to attach a name to him, or if you want to use like the Killing Joke as his origin story, then it's Jack Napier, or at least Jack. And in this interpretation, you get to see like, because this Joker is like a gangster Joker, and while Jack is, before his change, he was like more like a serious sadistic person before he was like until the chemicals, Ace chemicals, changed him to be more maniacal force of nature of a Joker that kills out of the sheer comedy of it, or just because he thinks it's funny, because life is a joke kind of situation. Of course, around this time, Batman seems to be more like an urban myth. Maybe he's been Batman for like a bare minimum of a year, because he doesn't work with Gordon in this, not until like the end, leading into the sequel. And as soon as he made his like debut, it was like during Ace Chemicals when he was dealing with Jack, and his cronies, because Jack was being set up by his own boss, which I forget his doggone name, because it's not like Falcone or Boss Maroni. I don't think they were created yet. Maybe they did. Maybe they were created. We just did not utilize them in the movie. But that's fine. We don't need Joker attached to like these other gang members. But he was dealing the boss's, girlfriend and everything like that. Just completely disregard. According to his file, he's like, emotionally unstable and, like prone to violence. You gotta like, he's an expert in chemistry and like, arts and stuff like that. And he plays with like a deck of cards and called it his lucky deck. And of course, one of them is like a Joker card. Then, but before that, Knox and Vale go to this party, and just like a funny scene, and something I always wanted to do in like a party thing if I'm holding a party and like someone's looking for like Mia, and because the way she's like is one of these guys like, do you know if one of these guys is Bruce Wayne? I'm not sure. And then like I was like you just like, oh, thank you anyway. And then like she sees him later in the party, and it's like he introduces him like, hi, I'm Bruce Wayne. Like, are you sure? Yeah, this time. I was like, God, that's smooth. I was like, I think it's just like I almost want to pull that kind of move on somebody's like, oh you're now like yeah, this time. And it's like they was walking into this armory, like this kind of like almost like a trophy room full of like different armor pieces from different civilizations. And as if you follow me watching the Deadliest Warrior TV shows, I do like a few episodes each month so far. So like I had like fascination with like historical cultures and stuff like that, and looking the way like they depicting like a pseudo armor from medieval Europe and like a supposed African tribe and a supposed Japanese samurai. It is stupid looking because the medieval knight has spikes all over it, the armor, which is not how their armor worked. That's not how any armor they had ever looked, ever. They didn't look like porcupines, and like it was just like, of course, I didn't know any better back as a kid, but I'm pretty sure any historians that was probably watching the film back in the day was probably laughing their butt off or like look confused as to that's supposed to be a samurai armor. It was like looks so dumb, and of course, it wasn't going for like realism, but you would think if he was going to show like a depiction of like an armory or anything like that, you would actually get some like fake or kind of like a prosthetic or whatever kind of thing to make it look or simulate armor and prop them up and make it authentic looking. At least try to make it as authentic as possible. Like a suit of armor is supposed to look like a suit of armor. It doesn't look like a cartoony version of it. Like you see something on like SpongeBob or Fairly Odd Parents to make it look as goofy and exaggerated. I thought that was weird. Like looking back on it, I was like, I always thought that was so dumb. Uh, uh, but of course he gets called away when he find out like Gordon's been called away because one of their police officers, because it's kind of similar to Flash in the Batman Begins. Grissom. No, Grissom is the boss. What's the fat guy's name? Eckhart. That's it. Eckhart. Yeah, looks like I didn't think he was alive anymore. Yeah, looks like the guy who played Eckhart died in October 2005. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so Kim Basinger, that's her name. Kim Basinger. Oh, wow. She still looks stunning. She's 67 years old. She was born in Georgia, really? So yeah, Kim Basinger. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of people who like are not. I won't say a lot of people, but it's like it's like because Michael Goff is passed away a long time ago. So yeah, like Billy Dee was still around, Robert Wall, Kim Basinger, Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson. Obviously they're still around. Not 100% about Robert Wall, not 100% like by anybody else. Michael Keaton, obviously, but yeah. So Joker eventually took over after he's like coming back, just straight up like Killing Joke kind of situation. That instead of him being like the whole Red Hood situation, it's just the fact that he fell into the chemicals that changed him. And for the longest time, people like kind of resigned that as how the Joker became the Joker. Is like kind of iffy on like he was just a gangster or just some guy who got roped into some mob stuff, like the Killing Joke depicts, and he just fell in. But either way, it's a guy who fell into chemicals, became the Joker, and became like the most like next to like Lex Luthor, probably the most dangerous individual in the DC universe. It's like, it's like right out there, like Darkseid, Lex Luthor, Joker. It's probably like the three main, DC villains that is like not to be trifled with. It's not something that you can play around with, because they are lethal and dangerous. To be frank, you probably would be better off dealing with Lex than either Darkseid or Joker, because either one will kill you in horrific kind of ways. I think Doomsday is probably another, at least top 4, the most dangerous DC villains of all time. But it's like when, like, just the way that he approaches Grissom after coming back from supposed surgery, just to try to get the doctor to fix him up. He like, it's just the way his reveal is just like it's brilliant, acting from Jack Nicholson. And it's like the mouth, it was like, unlike Heath Ledger where he just cuts to make it simulate like a smile, a forced smile. This one's actually like makeup and everything like that, but it's such exaggerated. It's kind of like it works. You actually would think, it's his mouth, because the way it's moving, and it's like, it's just the way. As soon as he does a reveal, he's like, it's like it represents like he's free now. Like he's free of the restraints of the rules and stuff that the whole typically people down, like as far as like societal norms and everything like that. And he just like cut loose, and just like he's having fun shooting repeatedly at his former boss, and it's like and it's like he's in the enjoyment of it, and he's just like, it's funny. And it's like, of course, if you notice, every time if you watch the film and he does this reveal before he shoots his boss, there's like a little makeup mistake where it's like you see like this purple kind of smudge on the side of his neck. Is like only that one shot, but it's like, I don't know, it's got like scuffy or something like that. Something happened with the makeup department, but it's kind of like blink if you miss it kind of situation. But it's as soon as he flip up his hat and introduces like, call me Joker, and you see that on his neck. This is at that moment. It's hard, like, when you see it, it's hard to not see it from that moment forward. Every time you see this film and you see that scene, your eyes will be drawn right to that spot. But it's like, when he's like, talking with the other crime bosses, in the room, and it's like, it's a goofy scene, but it's so good. It's like, and like, why doesn't Grissom tell us this himself? What's that with that stupid grin? Life's been good to me. As I don't know why I never had the presence of mind to say something like that when I'm just smiling for no reason, and like somebody asking me, like, why are you giggling like that? I said, just follow up with this, like, life's been good to me. And it's like, no one wants a war. We can just shake on it and that'll be that. And it's like, like, oh, we got a live one here. And then you get the whole electric, hand buzzer, and it's like, with very intense electricity flowing through it, and like he electrocute into like a skeleton. When I was a kid, that was intense. Like, holy crap. And it's like, when I was like, you're crazy. One guy was like, you're crazy. Have you ever heard the healing power of laughter? And then it's like, he's rubbing his face. Of course, he's bleached skin now, so he had to use, like, ironically, makeup to simulate skin to blend in certain occasions. And it's like he's wiping, like, he's supposedly like wiping the makeup off, but what he's doing, in case you don't know, he's actually wiping the white makeup on. And it's like, it's kind of like a cool trick. with someone like a character like Joker, who's normally got like exaggerated skin, pale white skin. So if you got the whole fake skin and you like you and you doing wiping like supposedly makeup off, you putting that on, and just like it kind of works, and it's like it's brilliant because I was definitely fooled as a kid. Uh, uh, but like I said, I was glued to this film. Even to this day, it's like every time I watch this film, it's like I am just in it. I love this film. Of course, he insinuated that he ended up killing all these other mobsters because he's like, once you get out of here and think it over. And he's talking to the skeleton, we won't let your boys, give them a couple of days to think it over. What? Me kill him anyway? Like it's like they was like, once they escorted all those gangsters out, it didn't really focus on the words so much as to what he was actually saying. But like really like when as I got older and really like focus on the dialogue, and it's like that's definitely Joker. He would not hesitate to just kill them outright just for the fuck of it. Oh, there was a scene, there's a line that's still to this day because I completely forgot about it, and like once I heard it from Joker again, it's like it always bugged me, like what the hell is he saying? It's like, God, what was it? Crap. A two minds makes a moogie. Or did you say makes a moogie or makes a movie? Like it's something like that, and it's like, what? To this day, like I never understood like what was that? Like it doesn't make any sense. Two minds makes a moogie. Two minds makes a movie. It's one of those two words, movie or moogie. It has to be movie, but even then it still doesn't make sense. And what the hell is a moogie if that was it? I never understood that. To this day, that was like a weird line that was written up for Jack Nicholson. And he's ran with it fine, but it's weird. It's bugging to this day. It's like, what the hell is that? I never understood that. To this day, I'm 33 years old. Watched this movie dozens of times growing up. Never understood that line. To this day, I don't get it. Please, somebody out there explain it to me. Like, if you remember that line and what he said exactly, you can write it in the comments section. But it does not make any sense. But of course, now we go into the Vicky Vale and Bruce Wayne. They're becoming like a thing, and like when I mentioned about the Mark Webb Spider-Man films, how the relationship between Gwen and Peter is smartly written. This one is just as smartly written. And, the con I had about Vicky Vale, the screaming. God, this woman is like, I don't know, like 50%, like 40 to 50% screams. And it's like, it was almost like nerve wracking. I could not take it anymore. It's like, I had to cover my ears. Like, God, this woman needs to stop screaming. Like, stop screaming. We get it. You're scared. Stop screaming. Like, and it's like she putting her heart into the screams almost. And it's like ear piercing. I was like, I don't know if I remember asking my father as a kid, like, why is he screaming like that? She's so loud. I'm covering my ears because she's so loud. But other than that, Kim Basinger is doing a phenomenal job as Vicky Vale. I think like anytime somebody sees her, they immediately think of Vicky Vale as like a perfect representation of Vicky Vale. And like in current Batman comics, I really wish they bring back like characters like Alexander Knox, Bob, psychic to Joker, or henchman to Joker. Bring back Knox, Vicky Vale. Well, Vicky Vale, every once in a while somebody remembers her, they bring her into something, but she should be like a mainstay constantly. As like if Metropolis has Lois Lane, Gotham City should have Vicky Vale. I think The only times, like at least recent years, I ever seen Vicky Vale in anything was the Batman Arkham games. That was probably the last things that I seen Vicky Vale represented in, and it's like she should be like the Gotham's uh, Lois Lane, and not many people utilize her. And it's weird. Uh, you bring back Bob Max Shrek. I'm surprised nobody utilized Max Shrek as like a rival, like kind of like the way Justin Hammer is to Iron Man as far as like business villain type of dude. Max Shrek should be similar for Bruce Wayne as far as like a opposing powerhouse of a business. And not on the level of Lex Luthor, obviously, but something similar. And it's like, it's weird that nobody utilized those kind of characters as iconic as they are. I'm surprised nobody utilized them again in current comic book format. It's very strange to me. It's not like, I don't know if like Tim Burton has like a claim to them, because he doesn't have a claim to Vicky Vale, well, because Vicky Vale's always been around, but I think he's the one who made Max Shrek, and he was the one who made Bob. But you know, it's just weird, and nobody's brought those characters to life in current comics, is at least current Batman comics, because they're really cool characters. But Bob was funny in this. I mean, it's like, Bob was like a great henchman to the Joker, and I was like kind of was replaced by Harley Quinn for like a period of time. But man, like they need to bring back Bob. Now that like, Harley Quinn is like a, anti-hero in her own right, and not like a full-fledged villain or even like a, Joker's punching bag no more, bring back Bob. It's like Bob gun, bang. And they make Bob action figures. This is weird. And it's like, he's iconic. It's like, at least for the, this film franchise, but he kind of stood out. He's not like one of those run-of-the-mill kind of henchmen. He kind of stood out. The actor who played Bob really made his presence known, and not just some know-nothing kind of henchman. He really like stood out as like, Bob, you're my number one guy. Yes, sir. And he's on his shades, and his straight is like, my man Bob. It's like, God, it's like, bring back Bob, man. But just to get him shot. It'd be funny if they bring out Bob just for a little bit in like a Batman comic with him and Joker, and it's like, he's like, like, Bob, is that you? Yes, Joker, I'm back. What you need me for? Oh, Bob, gun. Here you go, sir. Bang. And then that was be like the one and only time you ever see Bob again in a comic book format, and it messed up, but that'll be like chef's kiss. Like, yeah, I was, definitely just for that little moment, just to see Bob come back in a comic book format in current continuity with Batman, meet up with Joker, trying to help him out, and, getting back into the fold as like his original henchman. And just to get shot by Joker, just because Joker would think it would be funny, because we all would think it would be funny, or at least maybe come back for a little, like 2 or 3 issues, just to get shot at the end before the run finishes. That'd be great. But yeah, and then I lost my position. Oh, when you get to see like a situation where like Bruce is like, because Vicky Vale's following Bruce after their night together, and Alfred's telling embarrassing stories about him as a kid, and then you get to see, which I always thought was weird, I guess because Tim Burton, the way he had the Penguin depicted as like some kind of monster growing up in the sewers, they never did this again, but he showed like Bruce Wayne sitting there like hanging upside down, swinging and stuff like that, like a actual bat, I guess, to this is the only way he can get real rest. He's like really like living up to the name of like a Batman, and it's like, he never did it again, which is probably for the best, because I always thought that was weird. That was not needed. At least personally, I don't think that was like a needed scene or needed action requirement from Michael Keaton. That could have been just cut out altogether. But she ended up starting to follow him and investigate him because she's, seen a story about, like, for some reason they, her and Knox had to look up the fact that what happened to Bruce Wayne's parents in the alley he always go to leave flowers in, and it's like Bruce Wayne's the most prominent man in Gotham City, and just like in Batman Begins, as like one of the gangsters, Falcone mentions like, you're Bruce Wayne, billionaire playboy. You got to go like 1,000 miles just to find someone who doesn't know your name. That should be the case in this, because maybe Vicky Vale didn't probably grow up in Gotham, but Knox definitely did. And how is it that they both had to do some hard research and digging up papers and stuff like that just to figure out, Bruce was the only one left after his parents were shot in the alley, and it's like that should have been. It's obviously was taken in the pictures in the paper, and it was printed, news coverage, obviously, given the fact that the articles they found, and it's like this should be like a well-known documented thing. It's kind of like, people have to do hard cutting research just to figure out that Abraham Lincoln was shot in a theater. It should be like a well-known thing. You don't need. I mean, only if like a little kid just get into maybe like third or fourth grade, prior to the third or fourth grade, should be the only ones that don't know that part of history yet. But at a certain point, word got around, and like people like tell stories about being like a recluse and all this other stuff. But the one thing that everybody should be well known about is that his parents were shot when he was a kid, and he is like that probably made him eccentric or something like that. He left for a while and then came back, and whatever. That should be like a well known thing. That's just me. That's probably the only thing that's one of the only things I probably do have like a small issue with. And then they go to this like press conference. Then you had to see the scene where like Joker made his debut in public, trying to like reveal himself because he likes the attention. And he's like kills what was it, the mayor? Not the mayor. Some government official live on camera. And he gets upset when like Batman gets all his press. Like, Bob, someone needs an enema. Oh, and then another line. One of my other favorite lines. He stole my balloons. It's like, God, I love that line. There's so many good lines in this film, and it's so good. It's mostly from Jack Nicholson. But yeah. Vicky Vale eventually finds out that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and then Alfred just lets her into the Batcave, which it's such a good writing that they address it in the sequel. The fact that they just let her in, and it's like he just waltzed on in without any kind of consideration to Bruce, or at least giving him some fair warning kind of situation. He's running this investigation about, because Joker eventually gets infatuated with Vicky Vale. And then you get this awesome scene at an art gallery where he pretty sure he poisons the people attending the gallery, as like you hear like this Prince song playing, well, at least a couple of Prince songs, I think. I think the art gallery part was the Prince song. Uh, uh, Cause I know during the parade that should be definitely that should be definitely Prince. Uh, okay. Party Man. That's gotta be it. Yeah, that's definitely Prince. Party Man and Trust. That should be Prince too. I think he did a collaboration with Michael Jackson, a combination of Michael Jackson and Prince, uh, for some of the songs here, which is why it's so doggone catchy. Uh, so it's like do the the Party Man song while they mixing up all the paintings and everything like that, and like the statues, and it's like I kind of want the messed up versions of those paintings as like posters or something, just so you can say like this is from like just to remind you of the this famous Batman scene, and you get this like you can play Party Man as like you thinking about these paintings getting ruined. And it's kind of look better, to be honest. It kind of looks better when they messed up, except for the one that Joker kind of liking because they look like skeletons and everything like that. And you get to see like how really like batshit Joker is, because the girl that he's been fooling around with behind Grissom's back, he kind of broke her mind in a way, and kind of like really got a mess of her face, not like Freddy Krueger level stuff, but like her like cheek and stuff, like kind of like I don't know if it's from the flower acid. It might be the flower acid. That's the only conclusion, because it's not like the chemicals that turned him into Joker, but it's kind of like disfigure her one way or the other. And that, I mean, when I saw that as a kid, that frightened the hell out of me. It kind of still unnerves me to this day. Not to the same level as I was as a kid, but I still cannot. I cringe at that. It's not a horror movie by any chance, but sometimes, every rare moment in a Tim Burton film, he does show something that it varies from person to person. But everybody got that one cringy moment in like a Tim Burton film that's kind of unnerving, like the Beetlejuice movie, where when Beetlejuice turns into a snake. That to this day still unnerves me. I do not like looking at that scene. I skip over that scene to this day, because it was like, that's a lot to take in, because like it's like Tim Burton really like cut loose. When you let Tim Burton cut loose, you get some very unnerving stuff. But he's still one of my favorite directors of all time. Mostly because like a lot of my female crushes in cinema is mostly from his films. Like Helena Bonham Carter, or in this case, Catwoman, Michelle Pfeiffer's version, the first girl I actually had a crush on, as a kid, that actually like really nailed in my head. Like, I like, like because of him, I like bad girls, or at least goth girls, and it's like, and the Tim Burton of it all, doggone it. And Helena Bonham Carter is like the ultimate like goth, fixation. But anyway, Batman comes saves Vicky Vale in our gallery, and you get the famous line, "Where does he get those wonderful toys?" And there's another famous, great line from the banter between Batman and Vicky Vale is so good. It's like he's trying to carry her safety under his grappling hook, and he asks like, "How much do you weigh?" 108. And then like after he fights off the henchman, and he after a little brief scream, and she just like like, I'm not gonna do the high pitched scream like that, but and he's like, "You weigh a little more than 108." Oh really? And I was like, that's good. That's good. You can tell the chemistry between like all these actors is flowing. It's just like they bounce off each other. It's like dodgeball. It's like they they go back and forth. It's so good. He figured out that the chemicals that Joker was tampering with for like hygiene products and stuff like that individually won't do nothing, but all together they eventually he in a way makes his Joker toxin and and make that horrific grin and kills a person that he's very famous for. And he's trying to utilize that toxin onto the crowd, that he's going through the famous parade, and you hear that the trust song, hubba hubba hubba, money money money, who do you trust? And then like you get to see the back plane, and he steals his balloons, and then you get the tower fight between Batman and Joker. And it's a really good. It's like a good final fight scene. It's kind of like almost like the Arkham games where it's like you're fighting like his bigger henchmen dudes, and like you're at the boss battle. But it's like, of course, this is Jack Nicholson Joker. He doesn't put up much of a fight like Heath Ledger did in his scenes. He wasn't like an expert hand-to-hand fighter, but he shows better prowess, to go up against someone like Batman. In the Nolan version, this one is kind of like a more of a trickster rather than a straight out like good at puppet his dukes and go tit for tat. Eventually you get the scene where the Joker falls to his death. I hope maybe in the the Batman 89 comics they try to do something to bring like Joker back somehow, because before Heath Ledger, people, when Heath Ledger was announced to be playing as the Joker, people was like, no, Jack Nicholson is my Joker. He's the better Joker. Like, he wants this pretty boy Joker, woo woo, until Heath Ledger showed y'all ass something. But in this, Jack Nicholson really made the Joker pop, and it's like became one of the most popular comic book villains of all time. I like the Joker. He's not mine personally. He's not my number one villain, but he's definitely in the top 5 for me. It's probably like the best comic book villains of all time. My number one this is my personal favorite, is the Riddler, but then like Scorpion and Shocker is probably like a good second or third. I think Joker is a good 4th or 5th, because Lex Luthor is pretty damn good too. But yeah, and you get the of course you don't get to see Vicky Vale anymore. In the sequels, you got a new love interest with Selena Kyle, which everybody knows Selena Kyle is like the obvious right person for Batman above any other love interest Bruce Wayne ever had throughout his career in the comics and movies and TV shows. Selena Kyle is the only one that measures up. I think like Tyler Al Ghul would have been a good second, but she's technically a bad guy. He wasn't going to be down with that. Oh, she Catwoman's a bad guy too, but it's kind of like more anti-hero as the years went on. She became more of like an anti-hero. While Tyler Al Ghul still remained by and large a bad guy leading an assassin's guild kind of situation. So that was definitely wasn't going to work out, even though they had like a son together. But yeah, Batman 89, man, that it still holds up. It's like literally one of the uh greatest, Batman films of all time. Like really set the tone for Batman forever. Batman Forever. Uh, uh, it was definitely the the benchmark, or at least it's like high tier. You gotta be able to meet that tier or exceed it, which Nolan definitely exceeded it with his version of the Joker, mostly. But yeah, because the Schumacher stuff, we have a laugh about it. It's campy, it's fun, but there's problems with it. I think we like it more so the campiness rather than like the way it's not the same way as like the Nolan Batman films or even the Burton Batman films. We like them for different reasons. That's why we put them on a high pedestal as we do. As far as like Batman fans, we put them on a high pedestal compared to like something like Schumacher, which we don't completely blame Schumacher. At least now we don't. Back then, we really like crucified him over the years after the release of Batman Forever and then eventually Batman and Robin. But we grew to understand that it wasn't 100% him. Just like with Sam Raimi, the studios, they realized they got a cash cow. Now they want to just like interfere in every little nook and cranny and make it kiddie or just to try to sell toys and stuff like that and completely butcher the director's craft. So R.I.P. Joel Schumacher, and it's like I think like a lot of people definitely owed him like a massive apology for like just raking him through the coals through over the years, until like a certain point in time where we got a revelation on like, at least because we didn't know at the time because we're in the ins and outs of what was going on behind the scenes until years later when all that information becomes privy to everybody. Because as of right now, as like what's a good example right now? Like, well, let's say like Suicide Squad 2. Like, we don't know the ins and outs of what happened in Suicide Squad 2 thoroughly as of right now. We know it's a good film. It's better than the previous version of Suicide Squad. But I'm pretty sure in 1 to 2 years from now will be all that redacted crap. The public at large doesn't know about that went on behind the scenes. We will probably know more then in the future in like a year or two time, and then be able to see like, okay, these two liked each other, but these two kind of like, got on each other's nerves. Like we knew like how Jared Leto kind of like just to get into the role of Joker, he sends his crewmates, use tampons and crap like that. At that time, we wouldn't have known that. It wasn't until maybe like a year or so later until we realized the kind of crap he was pulling that was very unnerving and like unprofessional of him to do. But that's just the thing, But I cannot wait to do the review for Batman Returns. I'll definitely do that next week, along with Venom 1 and 2. So look forward to that. I will be getting to the season 1 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in a few minutes. But leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of Batman 89. Is it one of your favorite Batman films? How would you rank it? What did you like about it? What you did not like about it? And please follow me on my various channels. The links are in the descriptions. Follow me on my Patreon, patreon.com/talkativecarl. If you want to further support the channel financially, that'd be great. But I am good with you guys just enjoying the video content. I'm getting more like subscribers, like almost like every other day. So it's like you guys are amazing. So I'll see you guys soon. Take care.